Hello and welcome back to the Primal Pursuits Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Mike Merrill, and we have my son Kanyon.
What
Hello. Up? and our good friend, Mr. Larry Hamblin, on the podcast today. So we're excited to have Larry. And Larry, well, we'll just let you introduce yourself to the guests. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Larry Hamblin's my name. A good friend of Mike. I've known him for, actually, Mike and Kanyon. I've known them for, 20 years?
At least.
I dare to say 20 years. We were neighbors from way back. Let's see, what more? What do we need? You need to know about my business, or
what do you do for a living, and what are your passions? What do you like to get out and get after, and just a little bit of your background?
Well, I would say number one's probably hunting. Would be the first passion of my life. Hunting and guns. I would say I set up. Long story, but I set up rifles for long range shooting. Was what I do now for my work. Actually, it's really not work to me, but I do have to charge a little to do them, but that's what I do now for my job. I guess you could call it a job, but I was self-employed for pretty much my whole life. I had a welding shop in Springville, a couple towns away from where I live. Pretty much my whole life, I've ran my own businesses and been self-employed. And now I have a company. It's called G7 Precision Firearms, and I set up rifles for long-range shooting. I also, besides setting them up, I think what sets me apart a little bit different than than people who set up rifles for long-range shooting is I'll also take you as soon as I get the rifle set up and show you how to use it. We'll shoot long, and instead of just saying, here you go, here's a rifle, I'll show you how to use it. And pretty much, I'd say 100% of the people have been happy with the results they've got. I'm not doing it for promoting long-range hunting by any way, shape, or form, but it sure is nice when you do shoot long that you can make a 500-600 yard shot with all the confidence in the world. So that's what I do right now. And I'm a hunting guide. I guide hunts. I've been guiding hunts for as long as I can remember. It all started back, Mike, I don't know. Since I was young, I was out helping friends and got in with a good group of guys. In my opinion, the best hunters out there, the best outfitter out there, Mossback guides and outfitters, and been guiding hunts for Doyle, and ever since it's been, to be able to get paid to do something that you love it's pretty awesome. Like my guns is the same thing. I love doing guns. I would be doing this for free for people if, but I don't know. Pretty awesome. I got a good gig going on right now between the guiding and my guns. I'd be doing this for free, but getting paid to do it. I'm really loving it.
That's awesome. Great background. Yeah, Larry, we have known each other at least 20 years. And Kanyon knows you as Tanner's dad, because he grew up with your son Tanner. Kanyon, what do you remember about Larry over the years, and what's your perspective on this whole thing?
Yeah, no, I always thought you were just a chill guy. For some reason I remember distinctly, and I don't know why, but I remember when I would go over to your house to hang out, Tanner. I remember you being in Dubai or something for a while with the welding. I don't know why. I was like, Dubai, is that even on Earth? Is that even part of what I know. It was so foreign and cool, and I was like, oh my gosh, like he's out in Dubai. That's awesome.
What were you doing in Dubai all the time, Larry? Why don't you?
Oh boy. Don't know if we should be talking. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Oh boy. I've traveled all over. I've traveled from Dubai is a place I've gone multiple times. I've gone to Japan. I've gone to Nigeria. I've been to Slovenia. I've gone all over the world doing little military projects for a company called Action Target. They, I was a subcontractor for them doing what they call well, they call it a kill house, but it's a shoot house / kill house. It's a military project, and it's a training facility that you would set up for the military, and it's all AR-500 plate, and you'd set that up for the military, and train in that facility. But unlike most shooting places, you could go in with paintballs, you can go in with lasers or whatever. These are live fire training facilities. So you go in live fire. I mean, you go in with your rifles racked and you're shooting. And these facilities were all AR-500 and completely bulletproof. And I got in with them, and I'll tell you one thing. I've seen the world for the past 20 years. I cannot even begin to list all the places I've been to and the stories I have. I got some stories.
I've heard a few.
Well, there's probably a few you haven't too. But oh boy, yeah, some good stories. I feel very, very fortunate that I've been able to do this. This is something that's, my gosh, just a little teeny place in Springville, and here I am traveling the world. There for a minute, Kanyon, back to your baseball days, when you guys were playing baseball and whatnot. I think what got me kind of opened my eyes just a little bit is I remember my son Tanner. He was crazy story. This is a crazy story for all the baseball freaks out there.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna love this one. I get a text that literally says he's in the hospital, and I'm just looking at this text, and there's nothing more to it. And I'm like, what the frick has happened? What's gone on with my son? And I can't even remember where I was. I think I was in Nigeria. I cannot remember, but I'm trying to frantically call back and trying to get a hold of him and say, what has happened to my son? What's going on in the hospital? I knew he was playing in a baseball game, but I didn't know, I had no idea if he got hit by a car. I mean, I didn't know. All I got on the text was he's in the hospital. So after finally getting a hold of someone, my wife, they says he's fine. What had happened, all the baseball guys out there is going to love this story because it's a crazy baseball story. So he's in a game, and he's pitching a no-hitter in this game. And a no-hitter's kind of a big deal for a pitcher,
Mm-hmm.
He's pitching this no-hitter, and he's got one more out to go in this game, and he's got a no-no. So batter gets up, gets a couple strikes on him, just a strike away. And here comes the ball, perfect pitch ball, tipped it up. The ball goes straight between Tanner and the catcher. Sam Moore was the catcher. We all know Sam Moore from around here, but Sam calls off Tanner, runs up, the ball hits his glove and falls out of the glove. So he didn't catch it. No. They were in foul territory. They weren't. It
Okay.
wasn't right in between pitcher and catcher. But Sam called him off. Ball fell out of his glove. So he needed to go back on the mound and finish this no hitter. Winds up, frickin' batter line drive right to his head, knocked him out.
Oh, dang.
One pitch away, one foul away. Sam would have just caught that ball, he'd have got his no hitter.
Oh, man.
Dude makes it to the base, gets to first. They pull in a couple other guys to finish this game. They rush Tanner to the hospital after all the commotion, and the team ends up losing the game.
Oh,
After
no.
everything was said and done, the guy made it around, the next guy went up. Tanner's getting taken to the hospital.
Oh, geez.
But they lost the game because of that. So I guess my whole point to this story was more for I mean, I started looking at things when I was gone on the road all the time, and I started calculating all the days that I was gone, and I was gone for almost 11 months
Wow.
out of the year, and I was home for a month. And I was running the welding shop when I was home, and I mean, I was burning the candle at both ends. So, nothing like running full-time crews in Abu Dhabi or Dubai or Qatar or any of these places that I've been, and then calling in, ordering supplies, getting my guys lined out here. It was quite the time in my life, I mean, 90, 100-hour weeks, so I don't know. I'm used to it by now, but even with my guns right now, I'm so busy with my guns. I'm putting in 90-hour weeks, but it doesn't feel like it because I really love working on the rifles. I really love it. My favorite thing is when someone calls me up and sends me a picture or a video and says, "Larry, guess what? Look what I got. This deer stepped out at 642 yards. Had all the confidence in the world I could dial up and make that shot. I took a deep breath. In fact, Sportsman's Tag Deer, he drew the Sportsman's Tag Deer this year, and we went shooting before the hunt started, and he gets onto the best tag in the state. He's got a 226-inch deer. And, and I'm sure he could shoot anyway. Like, I mean, I'm not teaching people to shoot. I'm just getting their rifles set up, and then I am giving some pointers on how to execute a good shot. But he dialed up on a, mid 220s buck, and he dry fired a time or two and threw a shell in. His coming right from him. His story is that he just dropped that shell in and just slowly squeezed the trigger, and deer goes right down. And I don't know, that's what makes me most happy, now. Makes me feel like I have a little purpose,
Yeah, that's awesome, Larry. When you were on an antelope hunt with me recently, we were out in South Dakota. We had a great time, and that was something that I saw firsthand. And to just see the glee in your face, and then have you turn your phone and show me, and I gotta say, there was probably, even in a few days, I think there was at least half a dozen of those that just randomly came in, people texting you pictures of something that they just were able to knock down, on a rifle you'd set up. So it was fun. I'm one of your customers too. You set up a pile of rifles for me already also, and so I can attest to not only the accuracy but the confidence that you have behind the gun, behind that trigger, once you know that machine is ready to do the work that you're hoping to do. When
Yeah.
when otherwise you use a lot of guys just could never make a shot like that when they're not set up right. Right.
Oh, exactly. And like most people think that it's, you just throw a scope on a rifle and put a scope on and you just go shoot, you go shoot them and they're good to go. I honestly, I'll take a rifle and I'll spend hours just mounting up a scope. If it's not mounted proper, I make sure it's mounted proper. I'll go through the thing and I'll spend, geez, I had a couple gunworks in here the other day, and they were already done and ready to go, but I started looking really, really close at the rings and I just didn't have 100% contact between the scope and the rings. I ran my lapping rod in the rings, just dry. I didn't have any compound on it. And I started turning, and it's like the contact I got on the scope rings to the scope was 30%. And
Wow.
like that's not good. So I put a little compound on there and made those rings to where, it was almost 100% contact. And it sounds funny. It really, really sounds funny because, you can go to your Sportsman's and your Cabela's and all your big sporting goods stores and they'll put a scope on for you. They will, but, I hate to say it, it's probably some 19-year-old kid that they just hired a few months back. He'll
Yep.
put it on and get that rifle and you take it, you start shooting it, and you're like, this rifle's a piece of crap. Why won't it shoot? And
Right.
so I've seen it, Mike, I've seen it so many times that, the scopes are loose or the scopes are over tight or, they're just not done right. But beside just the scope mounting, I'll also take the rifle, whether I'm using factory ammo or whether I'm doing hand loads. I'll work up loads for a rifle too, which is the absolute best way you can go. But, I can do a cheaper package to where we're just using factory ammo and that's just buying boxed ammo. And, but I break your rifle in, I mount things up proper. I bed your rail to your action. If it needs it, I bed your action to your stock if it needs it. I have a little checklist that I go through when I do a gun. And another important thing to do too is to not just take it and shoot a round or two through it. You need to break it in good. You're accomplishing two things. You're accomplishing the break in, what you need, but you're also speeding your barrel up. So all rifles, when they're new, they'll shoot slower. And then if you can get 3 or 4 boxes of ammo through as you're shooting and cleaning and shooting and cleaning and shooting and cleaning, it speeds up. So now you're shooting to the speed that the rifle is going to be shooting the next 800 rounds. And then I shoot long range data off of that, so now I have those speeds. I mean, I'm something's not right in my head. I have to have things. I have to have things just perfect. I spend so much more time than I charge for on every rifle. It's just the way I am. But I mean, I'll take coolers full of ice and I'll chill the bullets and I'll go shoot, 30-degree powder temperature and I'll put ice packs on my barrels and I'll have the barrel temperature at 30 degrees and then I'll heat them and have I'll have the outer temperature at 80 degrees and I'll let my barrel go 4 or 5 shots. I'll put little sensors and probes in my barrel to get my barrel to 80 degrees and then I'm documenting my speeds and, so there's a lot to it, more than we probably have time on this podcast. But, it's if someone was watching me out there, they'd be sitting there watching me through some binoculars or something. They'd be like, "What the frick is wrong with this dude?" I got all these little tables set up and all these little sensors and probes, and but I don't know. It's what makes my brain work. It's what I love.
Yeah, it's
So
funny. As you were saying, Larry, and I mean, again, full disclosure. I mean, I'm a big archery guy. The last decade plus, but I've had rifles my whole life. Grew up deer hunting, and as I look back through my rifles, I can honestly say I probably haven't shot 4 boxes through any of them before I met you ever. I mean, I've owned some of these 30 years, and there hasn't been 4 boxes go through them ever. And so
yeah,
the those details and things that you're doing and your expertise and experience is so far ahead of what most guys would ever even think about, that and we all know, we joke within the community at the price per pound of game meat. By the time you buy your gear and your camo and your
yeah,
tags and you gas and preseason and scouting, and these hunts are always a lot more expensive than just running out in 20 minutes and spending a gallon of gas and getting a giant elk or a deer or something. I mean, your days and weeks and months and thousands of dollars and time off work. That one
uh-huh,
bullet, that one shot is where everything is, riding on, like your son's no hitter. It's like, doesn't matter the whole 9 2/3 inning or 8 2/3 innings before that. You don't get that last batter out, you could actually lose the game. You could lose the game when you're hunting too, right?
literally, yeah, yep, yeah. So I don't know. That's what I take a lot of pride in. I get so happy when I get texts like uh, that antelope hunt we went on. By the way, Mike, in South Dakota, I loved every second of that. Because
Mm.
it was just a couple buddies out there hunting. I mean, watching you chase around those antelope with the freaking bow. I love that more than anything. I mean, I like guiding. Don't get me wrong, but I think I think beside the guiding out there, that antelope. Okay, so when I was watching you on that antelope, and we had the group coming down, so there. So to recap this, my Mike had you snuck up along this little wash, and I mean, there were two really, really big antelope. And
Giants.
this is after the rifle hunt. So the antelope were sketched out. I mean, they were so skittish. You would pull up to glass a group of antelope 500 yards, and you would stop and they would take off running. So the things were freaking, they had been shot at for the past couple months, and we're out there with a bow. Mike's out there with a bow chasing those things around. And I'm like, who the frick does this? Like, who chases these things around with a bow? But watching Mike crawl up on that one, and then the two big ones. It was so close. It was so close. He had them pegged today. He crawled up in this little wash, and he set up a little teeny temporary little blind, and we were trying to guess the direction that those antelope were going to leave that area. And um, I was back on the glass from back behind, just watching him. We had earpieces in and everything else, and all of a sudden, the second to the biggest antelope stands up. I'm like, call up Mike. They're standing up. They're coming. And how far? How far was it? Like he
80
came.
yards. He was 80
Okay,
yards is the closest I
so
got. Yeah.
he's 80 yards, and I kid you not, when I'm back on the glass, my heart was beating 120 beats, a minute. It was just, I was so wound up watching that, and I honestly thought you were gonna shoot that. I'm like, dude. both of those
Almost
antelope are
did.
big. Both
Almost
of those
did.
are really big. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
they were really big antelope. They were big, big. And Mike and I were out there for 2 or 3 days before and multiple stocks, but these two were big antelope. And it got 80 yards and it had to go. I guess antelope probably go more under the fence. What did that one go under?
It went
Did,
over. It went over it. Yeah.
did
Jumped
it?
over the
Oh,
fence.
but right when it got to the fence, it was going to stop. And I'm like, oh, Mike, we got a dead antelope. This is going to be so awesome.
I actually drew back.
Yeah. So he starts to draw, and I'm like, any second now. And then I see him let back off. I'm like, what are you doing, buddy? Like,
Yeah.
Mike had the other big one that was still
The
coming,
bigger one.
the
I guess I
bigger one.
decided to pass on him, but
But both of them were big. I mean, they were both
yeah.
really big antelope. So I was super, super excited that my heart's racing, and when I seen him let off his draw, I'm like, well, he still has that other antelope that's going to be coming. So 15, 20 minutes goes by, and sure enough, he stood up. But gosh dang it, he went a little bit further instead of
110
closer.
yards. Yeah.
Yeah,
He went
110
further away
yards with a
instead of
bow.
closer. Yeah.
And
So.
I still thought Mike was going to kill it. I'm not going to lie. Long range bow.
Yeah.
I'm long range on everything. But
I shoot at targets that far, but not animals.
yeah, he didn't. I will say he was quite ethical. He could have shot. I don't know.
that
I would dare to
that
put
80
those
yard one
antelope.
might have been doable, but yeah, we
They were
didn't.
both big antelope, Mike. They were both
Yeah.
really big antelope. So, but my whole point with that was, is I had an absolute riot out there. I wasn't guiding a hunt. It was just me and a buddy. And anymore, it's what it's all about to me. The guiding's pretty cool. And I've really made a lot of really, really good friends from guiding. Down there, I guide down in southeast Utah. Well, the best guide in the world's Tony. Tony Chavera. He guides a lot of hunts down there on the CWMU. Doyle, of course. Doyle's frick. You got Doyle guiding the hunt for you. He'll do anything. He'll whatever it takes to your priority number one. He's I don't know. It's I work with a good group of guys. But that was such a fun hunt with you, Mike. Because there was no pressure. When I'm guiding hunts, I get some guys who spend $100,000 on the tag. I'm sitting there. I got $100,000 riding on it now. To these guys, the 100,000 is not the same as the 100,000 to me. They're kind of like, whatever. And I'm thinking, this is
Yeah.
$100,000 tag. I have all the weight of the world on my shoulders.
Yep.
But Darren, a good friend of mine, I've become friends with. Darren Newsom, he owns Arms Corps Ammo. I've guided him on a few hunts. We went out and killed a really nice bull this past summer. We killed a mid 380s bull with him, and it was a long shot. I set up Darren's rifle, and it was long. It was 840. I hate talking about it, and people say don't do it, but I mean, it was one shot. The bull made it 10 yards, lay down under a tree, and then we put a few more bullets in it. And I mean, it was over and done within, 30 seconds or so. But Darren Newsom, I've really, really met a lot of really awesome people through Mossback and guiding, and I don't know, I don't know. Like I say, I feel like I'm living a dream sometimes with what I do. It's just crazy to me that I can go hunt and shoot guns and make a living at it. It's pretty wild.
How did you
Yeah,
make
it
that
is.
happen? Like for me, I'm curious, on the business side of it, like how did you get hooked up with Mossback, or what did you do? What skill set did you have to allow you to like make these dreams or passions of yours, like able to provide for your family and keep it consistent?
Um, so probably one of my best hunting buddies is a guy by the name of Jeremy Harness. A lot of people know him. Um, he's one of the best hunters out there. I'd want him on my team any day of the week. I always keep thinking, who's the dream team of hunter? Who's your dream team? I know everyone's dream team would be a little bit different, but my dream team definitely Jared would be my number one pick. He's just an absolute savage up there. The dude, you know, he's always going 110 miles an hour, and he'll do, he'll put in the work and the effort. Some of the hunts that we guide down there, we're not spending a day or two. I think this past year, I think I got maybe at least 20 to 30 days down there. Between trail cameras, you got the trail cam game, and then you got all your scouting days. It starts really in March-ish, you know. But Jeremy was the one that got me in the door. Jeremy and I, we were running into each other back when we were really young. We were running into each other all over around here, up Hollow Creek, different places. I mean, I'm way back in a little drainage back in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden, here comes Jeremy walking up the trail. I'm like, what the frick are you doing? Who does this? And then same thing, I'm sitting up there in the middle of, I don't know, Grindstone Ridge up on the middle of the mountain, just in some little teeny trail that's miles back in, and here comes Jeremy walking down the trail. So we became really good friends through that. And Jer was the one that got me in, with Mossback. Honestly think that it was just, if you have that passion and that drive, Doyle, he gets the guys. He'll train up guys, but I, I may be speaking for Doyle on this. It may not be the way it is, but I'm thinking it is he knows the guys that can get it done. It doesn't take long to figure out the guys that are the ones that are able to get it done, and I don't want to act like I'm bragging or anything else, but I think I took my, I don't think, I know I take my hunting the same way I do my rifles. I don't know. I don't want to act, like I'm patting myself on the back for this one or saying, bragging about myself, but it's just my personality that I literally am, I give 110% on whatever I'm doing at the time. It's kind of, I wonder at times, why I do it. But back all the way into my fly fishing days, I couldn't fly fish enough. Mike, I used to be an archer, I shot my
Yep.
bow every day for years, and I could group in nice little tight groups at 80 yards, the size of, just nice tight little groups. And I loved it. I loved it. I still keep thinking I need to get back into it, but I don't know. It's my personality. I'm not the type like some who can manage 46 different things, But I'll tell you one thing, I can give 110% to my rifles, my gun, whatever I'm doing at the time. So, I don't like to guide a lot of hunts when when the hunting season comes, but I'll tell you one thing, the guys that I am guiding, I'm giving 110% to. We've, like I had mentioned before, we've had some really, Doyle, one thing about Doyle is he gets some really, he has some pretty high-end clients. We got the Sartinis. I've guided them, this Blake and Heath Sartini. Heath killed a really, really nice deer a couple years back, and I set the muzzleloader up that he did it with, and 2 years ago you could have a scope on a muzzleloader in the state of Utah. And should I tell the story?
Sure.
For sure.
So Heath hit me up before he drew the tag and says, Larry, I know I'm going to get the tag. I want you to set up a muzzleloader for me. And I'm like, all right, this will be great. So I ended up getting a muzzleloader set up for him. And of course, I can't do it just
part way.
I can't just throw a scope on there. So it's the same drill with my muzzies. I'll true it, I'll put a scope on it and I'll go shoot it long, and I get the different distances, I correct the actual weapon to the distance I'm shooting, and not all weapons are the same. I can't get another one and hope the data lines up to it. Each one I have to shoot to get it, So if I'm shooting something 300 yards, I need to know what the dial is at 300 yards, 500, 800, and I change the BCs. I lower the BC to make my app match what the actual shot data is. But we're out there. I went and shot with Heath before the hunt. We set up a target at 500-600 yards. I can't remember exactly. I think it was 550. We went up on the Sartini Ranch down in southern Utah. I know a lot of people's heard of it, but I believe he has quite a few ranches down there.
Yeah.
But,
which one? Yeah.
Yeah, it was the one down by Mammoth Creek. But we set up a plate and drove the machine around, and I'm like, all right, let's do this. And we're sitting there looking at the target, and he's like, what? Is this possible to do? I'm like, Keith, just, dial up. And as I'll go over with all the people I do, you range it and you dial. And he ranged it, dial. You got to do some windage corrections. You got to look at the wind. You have rotation of the earth. Coriolis. Earth rotates, bullet leaves earth, and earth will rotate depending on the direction you shoot. It's a Coriolis. So you count
they call that the Coriolis effect, right?
Yes. So you have that, you have spin drift, your bullet's spinning, and you have to calculate that. And all these things, we go over when we're shooting. So we get there, he dials up, we go over everything, 550 yards. This is a muzzy. Muzzies are not supposed to shoot, but 200 yards. 550, he hits almost dead center of the plate. I'm like, let's do it again. Loads up, does it again, pretty much hit the same impact. I can't remember whether he shot again. Anyway, 2 or 3 shots. So now, fast forward to the hunt. Nicole, by the way, he brought his girlfriend Nicole. She's from California. She was, she's never seen stuff like we've done. And we were out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we were 20 miles back in nowhere land, hiking back in miles and miles back in. And I'm looking at her, and she's lit up like a freaking light bulb. She's just looking around like she cannot believe the beauty of, and how quiet it was and everything out there. But it was fun. It was fun to see her during that hunt. Little things like that during the hunt almost mean more to me than the actual harvesting of an animal. Just Nicole's smile on her face and just how happy she was. Just she's never experienced anything like that in her life. In fact, she's doing a podcast, and
Oh,
she
really?
invited me to. She called me quite a few months ago and invited me to come on. She's like, Larry, it's changed my life.
Wow.
Yeah. She's like, I gotta have you on here. We gotta tell my story on this hunt. So there'll be a little, maybe, more to come on that. But long story short, we get snuck in on this buck, and we're sneaking and we get in on him, and there's nothing between us and him. It's open country, open desert, and we're ranging him. It's 500 yards away, and he's bedded down perfectly sideways, just completely, ideal, perfect conditions. And he says to me, this is too much. This is a muzzy. I cannot do this. I can't. And I'm like Heath, I at first I kind of like, whatever. I'm not going to make him do it or try to talk him into it. If he's not comfortable, I'm not going to let him shoot. Then I'm sitting there looking at this deer, and I'm thinking to myself, you contacted me before this hunt started, and but for what? And I said, why did you contact me? To get the muzzleloader set up. Well, I know, but why did you want me to set the muzzleloader up? Well, just in case we needed to make a long shot. And I'm like, we're in that situation right now. This is it. Like, this is why you set the muzzy up right now. We're in it. Like, I promise you, Heath, get on that trigger. And so finally he's like, let's do this. He says, first of all, I never like to shoot at anything bedded, but it's too far. And I'm like, I promise you, I just promise you, if you get on it, slowly squeeze that trigger, you'll have this deer. I promise you. And sure enough, he got down there. He, took his time. We were set up on a bipod, and he slowly squeezed the trigger, and the deer just laid its head down. Like, it didn't kick, it didn't move, it didn't nothing. It just laid its head down, and his buddy that was with him up above him looked over at him and was looking at him like, hey, Frank, what's going on? Why did you put your head down? And in fact, the whole time we're walking up on this deer, he kept looking at Frank, he just kept looking at him. And he was the younger buck, and he's kind of looking at us. He can hear us by now, and he's looking down at Frank, and he's looking at us and looking at Frank.
So you're saying
Frank,
the other deer that was with this bigger deer, you're calling him Frank. He keeps looking at Frank. The
no,
deer that
Frank's the dead deer. Frank's the one that. Yeah. Well, so he's looking at the deer, and because the one that we just shot was the dominant buck, he's wondering why he's not leaving. Yeah. And I kid you not, Mike, we got maybe 50, 60 yards walking, talking. And these are the most skittish deer in the world. We are out in the middle of the desert where they don't see humans at all. Like, they hear a machine coming from miles away and they're running, but he laid there in his bed and sat there and looked at his buddy and just laid there and until we were about 50 yards, and then he finally got up and ran off. But that's one example of one of the weapons that I've said.
And based on your reputation and Heath's, I know this was not a small deer that he just shot. Right?
Oh no, yeah, it was close to 220. It's a big deer. He's a nice deer. Got 5 or 6 extras on both sides, big hook cheaters. Nice deer. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit of an example of guiding and the rifle muzzleloader in that case of what makes me happy, and back to Nicole, being there with Nicole, seeing her lit up. I don't know. I think right now I'm at the stage of my life, Mike, to where going out antelope hunting with a good buddy in South
Mhm.
Dakota is so much more fun to me than, some of these hunts. Most, the hunts with the Sartinis and a lot of these guys that I hunt with, I become good friends with. I talk to Heath and Blake, and I talk to Darren and for the most part, most of the people that I've guided, I've stayed in contact with. I mean, and most of the people that I've done my rifles for, I've stayed in contact with. I got a good group of guys. I got Adam Hanselman and James, his buddy, that they just bring me all their rifles, and I do all their rifles. But we call and talk to each other, once a week. Mike Eager, Mike Eager,
Yep, sure do.
him and his whole crew. We got Troy
He called you
Gregory
2 or 3 times
Chris.
you were antelope hunting. Jeremy called you.
Yeah,
I mean, you talked to 20 different people that I'm like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Oh, I did his rifle. Oh, I guided him on 9 hunts. Oh, I mean, you're
yeah,
constantly vibrating on
yeah.
this different level of existence
I
with
love it.
these good people that you've connected with because of your skill set and your discipline and how you've been able
I
to help
love it.
serve and
Yeah,
help
I
them
love it.
enjoy their passion more too.
Like I loved every second out there with you on that antelope hunt. It was freaking awesome. I loved it. Like it was. I don't know. It's gotten to where it's what it's more about. I care. Mike. I haven't shot a deer or an elk for myself for 5, 6 years now at least.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, and but I almost had more excitement and more. It means more to me to see people excited and then
Yeah.
you know than doing it for myself. I've killed a lot of deer and
You killed a lot
elk.
of big deer.
Yeah, yeah,
Really
yeah,
big deer.
yeah. I've killed some
Yeah.
big deer. Killed a yeah, I've killed some pretty big deer. So
What's your biggest one?
uh
Don't be shy.
he's mid 240s. He's got 15 on one side and I think 14 or 13 on the other.
Wait,
40
is this a
inches
deer or an
wide.
elk? Is this a deer or an
Yeah,
elk?
yeah, this is my biggest elk is a mid 370s bull, that I was
Mhm.
able to harvest back on the Pavant unit, back well, crazy story on him. It was September 11th, 2001. So
Wow.
so Mike, everyone has their September 11th story,
Yep.
right? Everyone
Yep.
knows where they were when they heard about this. Well, I didn't know about September 11th until like the 13th because
Jeez.
I was up on Pavant and I had left the week before, and this Mike, you remember this is back in the day that there were
Yeah.
no cell phones. I
Not
do
cell
think I
phones.
had one of those old big bricks, the big brick
Mhm.
phone,
Yep.
but you couldn't get service. Very, very few places had service, and you just didn't call out because it cost what? I mean, it was $5. I mean, it was
Yeah, it was a
ridiculous.
lot.
Whatever it
Yeah.
was, it cost a lot. So I did have communication with with people, but it was like what I would do is call in and check in every 2 or 3 days, and that's it. So I checked in. I believe it was my hunt started on the 15th. Um, I believe it was the 14th that I checked in, and I called in, talked to my wife, and she's like, "My gosh, the world is in turmoil right now. We're having some major things happen," and she's telling me all these things that are happening, and I'm up in the frickin' Elkwoods. I didn't hear about. Honestly, I did not hear about September 11th until it was at least the 13th or 14th.
Hmm.
But when she told me, um, it still did not register in my brain the magnitude of what had happened. She just told me, well, plane hit a tower, this and that. I'm in the elk woods, I'm in elk mode. I'm just like, just it didn't dawn on me. It really didn't. Then a few people come to help me. We killed a bull. I had him pegged. Once again, it's how I do things. I'm there for 10 days before the hunt starts,
Mhm.
sitting on my bull every day. And, I had that bull more patterned than he had himself. I knew where he
Yeah.
was going to go before he went there. But
Mhm.
opening morning rolls around, was able to get the bull. Then by the time, in fact, good friend of mine, Shane Hunt, he helped me with it down there. And Mike Perry, Mike,
Yep.
he was there, and a few of my good buddies was there back then, and um, that was back before a 400-inch bull had ever been killed in the state of Utah.
Mhm.
There had never been a 400-inch bull killed, so I'm mid 370s, and it was a good bull, but back to what I was saying, the September 11th, it didn't dawn on me until we got this bull out and I got home. And when I actually seen it on the TV, I seen it on the TV and I'm like, oh my gosh, because I don't know, you would think that someone would tell you what had happened and you'd understand, but I didn't until I got home. Probably the 15th or the 16th, I get home and I'm watching it on the TV and I'm going, wow, the world's changed from
Yeah.
when I was hunting. So yeah,
Wow. Well,
most of my hunting.
one of the things, when we were out hunting and we've been out shooting, and I've told you, we got to get you on the podcast. And I probably know 10 people that are, I'm connected to through other ways, some in the industry and hunting and fitness and whatever else, or just friends, people I've known over the years or grew up with, that you've set up rifles for. And so you and
Yeah,
I have this disconnected connection to the same people. And the common thread is every one of them cannot believe what you just helped them do. And I have had the same reaction myself. We're shooting 1,000 yards or 1,200 yards or a mile, and we're hitting steel plates just, one after another. And I'm thinking, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And
yeah.
it goes back to what drives you, that persistence, that just, um, pursuit of excellence. No matter what you're focused on, you're like locked in like a pit bull on, and you're just not going to leave it until it's right. And I think I just thought, man, you got a really cool story, not just in guns, not just in your welding or in the work that you've done for Action Target, but I watched you as a dad helping coach your son and mentor him in baseball. I mean, Tanner, college baseball, and was a high school star, and quite an athlete. And now he helps you on
93
guides,
miles
and
an
he
hour.
guides fly fishing, and he's running your steel fab shop and welding company. And
Yep.
just everything around you seems to be in line with that same precision, which is, it's pretty unique and kind of cool. So we were curious, what is that within you that drives you to that degree? And then also, how have you been able to translate that into different, I've watched you as a father. You're the same, you're that way as a husband. You're attentive to these things that, some people really struggle with to master in one area of their life, let alone across multiple things.
Well, Canyon asked me earlier. He says, "How was you able to do this?" I'd say honestly, Canyon. I don't know. It, it's hard to explain. It's almost all right. So I do have the best wife in the world. I will say that. In fact, um, Jennifer and Heather, our wives, Mike's and I wives, they're good friends. They love each other. They're really good friends. And Mike and I both have awesome wives. Let's just face it. I mean,
Yeah, no
but
question.
okay. So here's a cheat sheet to most of the people out there. How it all started for me in all that is I wanted to do this stuff. So you have to get a hall pass from the wife.
Mm,
So what's the best way of getting a hall pass from the wife? She's probably not going to argue with you doing these things if you're making money. So it all started back to where,
providing, yeah.
the guiding and stuff. Okay, so it's like, okay, so how can she really, and this is, it almost sounds funny, but it's so freaking true, I would say. Life is short. Life is so short. Like, I really feel bad for the people out there that are living life and they're not doing things that they enjoy. So, Canyon, I mean, you guys right now, we're doing this because you guys enjoy this. Canyon's fitness, freaking watching this kid. I mean, frick, get on his page and look at that dude. He is built, man. But you don't get that. You don't get that from, you can't fake that. You can't fake it. It's what you love. It's what you do. And look what you're doing now, Canyon. Look what you're doing with this. You got your primal going. You're turning your passions into your job, and it's almost cheating, I feel, because is it really, a job if you love it? So I would say it's almost a cheat sheet back from when I was younger. It's like, hey, I love to hunt. Uh, I I'm gonna be able to. I want to be able to hunt all the time. I'm gonna go do this because I love it. It's not because I want to do it for a job. It's because I love it. Canyon with Primal and Mike, you've done it. You've done what you've done with your software company, and it's watching what you've done's been freaking amazing. It's opened up a lot of things you can do with the rest of your life. But I don't know anyone out there who wants to have a little bit of, a little cheat sheet in life. Freaking go do what you love. Like it started off with me with the guiding. Even back before that, just thinking back to when, I was hunting and the tax write-offs and all the things you get. Hey, I like to ride, four-wheelers and I like my machines and I need this and that. So it's like, hey, honey, I need to get me a four-wheeler. Well, how can you do this? Well, I need the four-wheeler for the guiding, but the guiding's bringing in the money. So, so you would guide. Basically, I cheated my way through, but I wouldn't say cheated, but might not work with all wives. But guess what? Hey, and then you need to have the nice fancy rifle if you're gonna guide, because I can't be a guide without having a nice fancy rifle. Can't do it without having the Swarovski optics and all the good stuff. So I don't know. It ended up getting to where it's kind of my motto. It's kind of, Tanner, my son, helped me, years back when I was doing rifles, and I was doing them for a few people, but I didn't do any social media at all. I mean, my social media, name of the company's G7 Precision Firearms. It's just I have an Instagram page. I don't have a ton of people following, but people I have are, they're really good people. I've become friends with most of these people who will hit me up. I mean, I have people DM and call me all the time, just asking little questions here and there, and I love to answer them. But Tanner is the one that kind of got me going. Mike, you've been around software at Canyon, and you guys are raised with, you know, apps and all this. Me, you know, all the way back from the brick phone to this. So Tanner tells me, why don't you just go out and video a couple little things that you do when you're out there
Mm-hmm.
shooting? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, just if you're out there setting up a gun or shooting, just do a little video clip. And you know, he got a page going for me and showed me how to post a couple little videos, and I ended up just slowly starting to post these videos. And then, you know, a few people started calling, and a few more people started calling, and then buddies told buddies. I think what I take the most pride in is I don't just set up a rifle for a guy. I set up a rifle for a group. By the time I set up a rifle for Mike Eager talks so much, you know, about how happy he is that he'll tell Troy and he'll tell Preston, and he tells all of his guys, you know, he tells all of his friends, and then next thing I know, I've done them for his whole group. But you know, it slowly started. My page started getting a few more people liking, and the next thing I know, I have some people from Texas calling me. I had some people from back in Tennessee, and then I have people flying in. You know, they're sending me rifles. I set up the rifle, and instead of just handing them the rifle and sending it back, for the most part, most of them will fly out and we'll go shoot. You know, Gary down in Arizona, he sent me a rifle and he flew up and we went and shot and had a good time. I still talk to him. You know, most of these people I talk to still. You know, I don't know. But I don't know. I think it's kind of cool to take something that you love and turn it into a business. But it got to where I'm doing the welding shop and the guns, and honest, it was 100-hour weeks, 110-hour. It was so much work that I could not juggle both of them, and you know, and it's about the time my son Tanner was there at the welding shop, and he's starting to want to take on more responsibility, and he wants to do more. He wants to, you know, basically get the company to grow. We're a small welding shop, and you know, he wanted to do a few things, and so I worked out a deal with him, and you know, so now Tanner runs the welding shop, and I do rifles full time. You know, it's besides the guiding and it surprises me even right now, Mike. I cannot believe how busy I am. I have more rifles than I can even handle at this point in time.
You need some help.
I do. I'm going to get some help, and then I'm looking at a little place right now over in Spanish to where
Nice.
I'd like to open me a little store. You know, I don't think I had discussed it with you before, Mike, that like another Payson Sports and Trophy, but I don't know if I want to get something that size, maybe smaller. You know, just have a few long range supplies, a few long range guns, a couple camouflage, you know, a couple things, you know, camouflage clothes, and I don't know. That's about it. But I think that's my goal for the future is that, and then I would really like to get my own line of ammunition. I've kind of been working with a couple companies right now. You know, I've been shooting a lot of these McGuire bullets and kind of talking with Sam there at McGuire's, maybe getting a line of ammo going with his bullets. That'll be in the future. I see that coming up in the future. But
yeah, it's interesting, Larry, because you know, and you talked about the hall pass, but let's rewind a little bit before that, because you know, when we were on that trip, I learned more about your background too, and we've been friends for a long time, but we had some long hours to connect, and and fill in gaps in each other's history and past and our backgrounds. And that's what really had me just super curious. You earned that hall pass in other ways first. And I mean, you talk about making money guiding, and that helped, validate the reason why it's an investment, you and your time and your wife, but you're getting paid and covered for it and making a little money. But before that, you had to build credibility and, a reputation so that your wife knew you were accountable to make sure that, we talked about this, providing and not just the monetary needs, but, you're running a household and you're managing a family and you got small kids. And so, I mean, rewinding the tape, I mean, what did you figure out early enough to get ahead of this so that when it came time for you to say, man, I'm putting in all this time, I need to spend a little bit more of it doing what I love? I mean, you had to be a great welder and a great business manager to have a place that would support you making that transition, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think my dad taught me back when I was young that just, you do is absolutely the best job you possibly can on every job. Don't
Yeah.
don't half-ass anything. You
Yep.
do. And it's the same with the guiding. It's the same with my rifles. It's I give 110% on these things. I really do. I don't half-ass anything. Because I put myself in the shoes of any one of these rifles that I'm doing. I put myself in the shoes of that hunter, that when that once in a lifetime shot comes, they need to be able to make it. In fact, I lose sleep at night worrying about certain stuff, Man, I hope he does good on this hunt and that hunt and this and that. I don't know. But yeah, it's just my personality. I'm the type of person who definitely could. Some people have it in them to run really, really big businesses, and they can micro, manage a lot of different things. Me, I'm kind of focused on one thing at a time. But when I'm doing that one thing at a time, I'm 110%.
Yeah.
So
Well, and even that, I mean, I know, like me with the software company, I mean, I wasn't put on this earth to build the best mobile time and attendance tracking software for construction ever. And that's not my calling in life. But dedicating my time and effort and energy to that and having passion and enthusiasm and learning to love and enjoy what I'm doing, not necessarily finding what I love and enjoy and then turning it into a business, but recognizing there's a business opportunity here that can fund and finance my future goals and plans, and then stick with that thing for a couple of decades, grinding and not giving up and then also, making money and supporting along the way. Staying focused. That welding shop, I know how hard a work that is, and
yeah,
so
it's
that was not fun all the time, right? So how did
oh
you
no
stay in it and keep
no.
with it? Because you were like Tanner, your dad had the business, and you kind of took it to new levels. You turned it into a profit center,
Yep.
where before it was more like a
1972.
lifestyle company that wasn't
Yep.
really building any real long-term value, right?
Yep. Yeah, that business was 1972 or 1971 when it opened up. So it's been around for a lot of years. Hamblin Welding.
Yep.
And most of the people here in the valley's heard of it. It's been around for a long, long time, and a lot of people haven't. Just a little shop that's right there, just off Main Street in Springville. But I will tell you, that kid of mine, Tanner, I'm really, really proud of him. I get calls all the time from people, Brian, he called me the other day and with Hatfield Masonry, he called me the
Yep.
other day and was telling me how awesome it was working with Tanner. He says, I love that kid. He's so good to work with. He's like, Larry, you would be proud of him. He's very
Cool.
professional. He does, really, really good work. So I don't know. It goes back from what my dad taught me back when I was younger to what I've, taught Tanner. If you're going to do something for someone, you put your whole heart and soul into it. You do the best job you possibly can. Don't, even if it comes to where you're losing money, you finish and you polish that job up so nice that, you take pride in it on everything you do, you know. But one thing I was thinking about, Mike, just this morning, is, well, okay, so I'm trying to learn off of other people's examples. Canyon's got the freaking fitness. I mean, frick Canyon, dude, you are yoked as hell, buddy. But
Thank you.
like,
Thank
my
you.
gosh, that just doesn't come, right? You have to earn that. But
10 years.
yeah, yeah. But
And
Mike,
building.
yeah, tell me this. This is something that I just thought of this morning. Um, these cold plunges of yours, how in the
Yeah.
hell do you do it? Like, how is it? So I'm showering this morning, and then, all right. So I've watched you do these cold plunges. And in fact, it goes all the way back to one of my good buddies, Brian Peterson. He's a
Mhm.
helicopter pilot. I shot
Yep.
with him a lot. A few people know him from my page. Um, we get out there. We were flying around in the middle of the desert, and Brian, he wants to go. Basically, we'd been there for 3 or 4 days, and we're flying the chopper around in the desert, and camping out in the middle of nowhere. It's the coolest thing in the world, Mike. We got to go do it. We're gonna have to
I'm
get
ready.
Brian.
Let's do it.
It's so fun, Mike. Walking around on ground that has not been touched by humans for hundreds of years, But Brian's Brian's quite the clean freak, and
Mm,
after 3 or 4 days out in the middle of the desert, you start to stink. So he says, "What do
mhm,
we do um, for a shower and whatnot?" And I'm like, "There's these old cattle troughs that pumping water right out of the ground. I mean, it's a well, these little solar
mhm,
wells, and it goes into a big giant round tire that they made these tire troughs, and so we get in the chopper, land, over by right next to these troughs, and there's two tires. One tire is right fresh out of the ground, and it's probably, Mike, when you're doing the 30-degree stuff, I have no freaking clue how it's even possible. Like
yeah.
there, I think my heart would stop when
It definitely, yeah, it'll put a jolt in it.
I don't even know how it's possible. But so the one tire pumped right straight out of the ground, and then it goes into the other tire. And the other tire, the water leaks into it, and it's probably, I would say the first tire is maybe 50 degrees,
Mm,
if not, high 40s. And then the second tire is probably, I don't know, maybe low 50s, high 60s. So Tanner, my son, and Brian, they just climbed right in that freaking low 40s, or mid 40s type tire, and there's no way in hell. I tried, like I'd stick my arm down in there and I just froze, but I climbed in the other one, um, and I got out of it, and it was pretty refreshing. And these guys are like, "You have no idea what you're missing. Like,
mm,
this is the best." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, whatever." Well, fast forward to the next year and watching your videos and all this, we did the same thing. We hopped in the chopper, we took off, we go over there, and we land. And this time I get in tire number one, the cold one.
mm.
And Mike, I kid you not, that was the most. I got in that thing and just got in there, took my breath away. But when I got out, oh my God, I felt like $1 million. Like I had never felt so good
Wow.
in my life.
Mhm.
So That's what I was thinking, when I was showering this morning. I'm like, I'm going to be on the podcast with Mike. I have to shower in a cold shower.
There
So
you go.
I turned it down cold and like, dude, I'm sorry, man. I don't know how you do it. Like as cold as the tap gets, it about killed me. And it's probably what, 45, 50-degree
Yeah,
water.
yeah,
You're
likely.
getting in
Yeah.
what, 39?
Yeah, 39 is what it goes down to normally. Now it's about 36, 37 just because it's so cold outside. Even with the insulation on top, it still just chills it even more. So, yeah, pretty cool.
Do you do it, Canyon? Do you?
Yeah, I haven't done it lately, but I'll do it.
Yeah, he does it when he comes down here quite a bit too.
Who's better at
We
it?
have cold plunge parties every New
Oh, my
Year's and
dad,
every
for sure. I'll go in
Oh,
for like a 4 minutes and then I'm done.
We did Bear Lake last year in the middle of the
Yeah.
winter. That was pretty fun.
That was really cold.
You did 3 minutes because that was the goal, and I did 5. But lots of times when I have like my daughter has a boyfriend that'll come, and then Canyon will go, and then my son-in-law, and I tell him I'll go last. And so whatever they all do combined, I try and crush that by minutes at the end. So it's
what is it in that
luckily
brain of yours, man?
none of them are as gritty about it. Otherwise, I might be hurting. But yeah,
There's some wires up in that brain of yours, Mike, that's just freaking, I
yeah.
don't know, that lets you do stuff that push things to the limit, you know.
Well, it's like
My
everything else you're talking about. You got to lock it in here and decide, all right, here's what we're doing. And, you work up to it just like anything, just like sighting a rifle in, you kind of get it dialed. And and just like you're doing bed in the rail and tightening things up. I mean, you just start to think like, what could I do here? How could I, strategically, when do I plunge? I do it fasted in the morning early. That's easier. Um, once you've done it, I mean, the first time I did it, I didn't even actually, full disclosure, I didn't even make it a minute. And I thought I was going to die. I thought, this is crazy. I can't believe it. But I was
what
so
temperature
upset at
was the
myself.
water?
Well, it was it was cold. It was probably maybe 38 or something. It was in the winter, and it was a cattle trough that I'd bought. I saw people doing it, and I thought, I'm just going to do this. And the first time I got in it, I think I made it about 45 seconds. I thought I was going to die. And it was just tap cold from the hose and, winter outside. But I was so mad at myself throughout the day because I'd watched these other people do it for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. So I thought, I gotta do this again. So at the end of the day, I did it and made it 3 minutes. But once you get past that 45, 50-second mark, all of a sudden your body adjusts and climatizes a little bit, and you realize, okay, I got to get in survival mode because this is the condition we're in. Something changes, and all of a sudden it seems to get a little bit more easy to stick with it. And so, for me, that's been the secret, is make it past that first 45, 50 seconds, and then
Well,
you
my
kind of go a
problem
little
is
longer.
that first little bit, I'm about ready to die. My heart's ready to stop.
Yep.
So,
but isn't it interesting that it's right here? Because you're going to be just fine, right? Just fine.
I don't know what would happen if I came over to your place and I hopped in that 39-degree water.
Come on over, baby.
I might just seriously, you may be pulling me out of there dead. I don't know if my heart could handle it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's amazing what we can do when you really. And again, I don't ever tell people, I don't need to break some world record, but I have done 30 minutes before. So, I mean, which is just crazy, but and actually that's the only time that I put the watch away. I didn't even look, and I'd done it. I think 22 minutes was the longest before that. And I think it was about 38, 39 degrees, something like that. And I just said, you know what? I'm not going to listen to anything. I'm not going to look at my watch. I'm just going to listen to my body. And I've been doing it for over a year. So I, kind of knew the drill. And you get to a point where, this is just what we're doing. And so they say after about 3 minutes, you've gotten pretty much most of the benefit you're going to get. And anything over 10 minutes, it's probably the point of diminishing returns. So really no extra value other than just mental fortitude and grit, I guess, at that point.
Well, I had never felt so refreshed in my life than, when we got out of that old cattle trough. Those tire tanks, they're literally for the cattle. There's moss growing in them, there's bugs and dirt and stuff. And we're out in the middle of the desert. It's like, where do we go to get clean? Hey, let's go to the nasty, stinky cattle troughs. So I think we probably came out of there honestly stinking more than, but boy, it sure was refreshing when I crawled out of that thing, the colder one. Now the time before it wasn't, it was probably 60-degree water, 55, 60. But when I got in the cold one, Mike, I'm like, oh my gosh, Mike is on to something here,
Yeah.
So
that's a life changer. There'll never be a time when I'm not plunging, I think, in my future. So
I tried it just this morning. I I turned off all the hot, and dude, I don't know how you do it, man. That takes your breath away. But it sure I feel good right now,
Yeah, it boosts your metabolism. It actually builds up your immune system quite a bit. I mean, it's good for your skin. I mean, it's good for your heart. There's 100 reasons to do it. And, they've done all kinds of studies, people out in, different countries where it's a very common practice. There's benefits to getting in a sauna too. So I do both of those and love implementing both of those as part of my, healing and recovery routine after a good workout or a long run. And so, there's a lot of reasons to do it. And I don't think there's any reason to not at least try it a few times.
Yeah, true. I was just thinking also with this new Primal supplement, what is it that is in that's because
you liking the Apex?
Yeah, what is it? Like, is it something for your brain too? Like, what's in it that's making it like it's different than any other supplement?
Yeah, I mean, what do you notice with your brain that you feel when you take it?
Well, okay, so Mike and I know, well, I wouldn't say Mike and I know, but I know the older I get, you cannot focus nearly as much.
Mike knows too.
Yeah. Well, some people are pretty sharp at our age as far as stupider thoughts and just kind of, just losing your train of thought, really. You're thinking one thing and you have 8 different things on your mind and you forget, you'll go over to do something and then you forget why you were even there doing it, and the older and older you get, the worse it becomes. So I would say with the Apex, there's something in it that's helping for like cognitive. Isn't there? I mean, am I wrong by this or?
No, I mean, yeah, like, so what Apex is it is labeled as a pre-workout, but more than anything, it's like an advanced nootropic formula. So like the nootropics are supplements for the brain, right? So I mean, there's a ton of ingredients in there that help boost what's called acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter. So like what happens when we get older, our acetylcholine levels start dipping down. And in rare cases, when someone has extremely low levels, that's what dementia is, Alzheimer's. And it'll naturally decline, as you're getting older. You stop eating as much as you would before. So you're not eating enough of, the healthy red meats that have a lot of that choline in there to support those acetylcholine levels. But what that is it's fuel for your brain. So what we have in there is we have 4 or 5 different ingredients alone that just specifically boost your acetylcholine levels to keep them high, to keep that tank full, so that, as you do age, or even for me, like if I am having an off day, yeah, I'll just take some Apex, and it helps with focus. It gives you energy, right? Sometimes we have a little too much energy, and like you said, we can have 8 different things going on in our brain, and we can't just like focus in on one. That's where the acetylcholine comes in. So you get the benefit of having the energy in the first place, like with the caffeine, but then you actually have the foundation to guide that focus and sort of tunnel vision onto something. So yeah, so we have like alpha GPC, new level. We have L-citrulline that helps, open up those blood vessels so that blood's getting into your brain, right? Because we
Yeah.
need that. The blood carries the nutrients and all that stuff, the oxygen. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a good use case for anybody struggling with brain fog or lack of motivation per se.
Great. How was it that you did this? I mean, how did you develop it? And what did you do to even come up with this?
Yeah,
This is Larry with a rifle.
I've been like into
Canyon's
this
that
kind
way
of
with the
stuff.
sups.
Exactly. I mean, I've sort of garnered the knowledge that I have right now to where I don't really do too much like seeking for more information. But yeah, I had a half a decade of just like OCD like focus and interest in, what are things that I can do to not biohack, but like optimize what I've already, been working towards. Because physically it's like, okay, I want to improve physically with my body, but what's the point of improving physically if, I'm dumb as a rock and I can't freaking communicate or whatever? It's like for me it's like I want to feel good and I want to look good, and what's that going to take? So then I started diving into, different ingredients with like the nootropics, what I mentioned, to help boost that brain activity as well. And then after, 5 years of trying a whole slew of things, hundreds of different supplements and concoctions, I tried a bunch of other people's products as well. And I sort of took what I enjoyed about each aspect of each ingredient that I tried and said, okay, what would I want to take personally? Like how do I want to feel? How do I want to be able to perform? And what supplements will that take to achieve that? So that's kind of what Apex is.
So the Apex is kind of the all-in-one type thing
Yeah.
more than I know you still have all your other stuff, but
Mhm.
that Apex is awesome. I
Mhm.
love it. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
what
super highway. Yeah.
I've noticed probably more than anything, is the cognitive. It's pretty crazy stuff. Mike's the one that got me into podcasts back, a while back, just talking about,
Mhm.
hey, you need to get into this when you're sitting there working on your rifles. And Mike, what was it? You sent me to Joel Joel Turner, one of the
Yep.
guys with
Shot
the shot
IQ.
IQ. Yeah,
Hmm.
you told me I need to listen to him, so I listened to
Shot
him.
blueprint. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it helps out the same with shooting rifles that it does with shooting bows. But I was listening to I've been listening to a lot of Joe Rogan and all of his stuff, and
Huberman. Yeah.
yeah, I love that stuff, man. All that alien stuff and all that stuff, so awesome.
Yeah.
I love nutrition. I love the craziest part about nutrition is all the mixed results. I just down in on a bear hunt earlier this spring with Brian Peterson and his buddies, and they all had such different things to say about nutrition. It's like,
Mhm.
who do I listen to? Because it seems like they're conflicting, you know, with eating different things, with eating different fats and bacon and versus sugars and carbs and all this. It's like, I don't know, this is something that I need to dive into a little bit more. But I don't know, one thing at a time, I guess. But the Apex definitely helps you to think. I love it. So
Yeah, it's kind of like a super highway and it allows your body to deliver like these, like our protein, primal protein. Like when you're taking Apex and then you take that protein, or you get some creatine in your system, and you start that same delivery system that's feeding your brain the oxygen and those components that it needs to be more efficient. You're using that same delivery system to get these other supplements to your system that you're not. Kanyon talks a lot about our EAAs, and how hard it is to get those in a normal diet, to eat enough red meat to maximize. You need supplementation, and so Apex is a great
yeah.
delivery tool for all those other supplements.
Well, just to feel good. Like Mike,
Yep.
we're not
Yeah.
spring chickens anymore. It's nice to be able to feel good throughout the day and to be able to accomplish a lot. You don't just want to sit around all day
Yeah.
and, like I say, working on these rifles, I need some help, to focus but I love that, that with the Apex, I love that it helps me mentally, is it Canyon, is it designed for cognitive, or what is it? Or is it kind of more of a all in one? What
I
is
mean,
it?
it has ingredients that like help with blood flow, that help with the gym. But what I had in mind specifically was something that you could take in or outside of the gym that can increase performance. And so yeah, so a lot of it was designed to cognitively boost you to that top end of
Huh.
how you could feel.
Yeah, does it have creatine in it or
It
no?
does not. No, it does not have creatine. That's separate.
Gotcha.
Intentionally, right?
Gotcha.
Intentionally separate, so people can get that win and in the dose they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is it that the creatine does? I've always wondered that. What is it? What is it?
So much. Creatine is the most studied supplement ever. Like there's so many tests, so many results that have been backed by thousands of studies. So what it does, people think like, oh, take creatine and get big in the gym, which it does help you gain muscle, but that's like the tip of the iceberg. Other benefits include like cognitive function, right? Once again, every part of our cell and mitochondria has what's called ATP, that energy, right? You hear in school, oh, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, right? It's what delivers energy. And so also when we do get older, our ATP stores start getting depleted, right? So we have this big tank of storage, but it's slowly depleting as we age. So what creatine does is it helps keep that storage full of the ATP. So it also is really good for you mentally. Cognitive function, that's overlooked a lot. It helps with depression. It helps with anxiety. It helps with focus. It's like it pretty much kind of what Apex does. Apex just has a different mechanism of delivery, and it's more acute. Um, but yeah, people that take creatine every single day, they'll notice benefits cognitively. They're sharper. It also helps with days where you don't get as much sleep. Like I slept for 4 hours, uh, but I'm still able to communicate and be somewhat cognitively aware. Because creatine helps offset sleep deprivation, cognitive decline, and then it also helps with like your skin, your hair. So yeah, it's amazing. Creatine's awesome.
And the
Is
funny
creatine?
thing is creatine, a lot of people think it's like Canyon said, it's a guy thing for in the gym to get big muscles, but a lot of women should be taking creatine and supplementing, and are
That's what I
not,
just
because
gonna.
they associate it with
You
gym and muscles and masculinity. And it's like that's just a side benefit that also comes along with all the other reasons why you should be supplementing with creatine.
So creatine is just as good for
It's a
women to take.
key.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing.
Wow. Crazy.
And people don't know that. I didn't know it before we started this venture and got digging deeper. My wife
You got
Jennifer
the
takes it all the time,
you got the
there are
mad
great benefits
scientist.
to it.
You got the mad scientist down here, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
Yep.
awesome, Canyon. It's freaking
Yeah.
cool. You're taking your passion, taking what you enjoy in life, and you turn it into a business. I love it,
Yeah.
I really do.
we get to
Really,
help
really
people
do.
along the way, which is just like what you do. It's amazing to hear the testimonials and people talk about it. How we had another guest on the podcast, Daryl Merkley, and he's one of the owners of a place that actually does our manufacturing here locally in Springville, and he was enjoying these benefits like you were talking about Apex. Didn't even realize that was why he was having these results. Hadn't attributed it to the Apex because other people kept telling him and noticing you're on it, like for whatever reason, like you're just sharp.
What's
And
changed? What has
and it was
changed?
he realized finally it's Apex. I didn't even think about it, So pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is cool. He's changing people's lives by getting them healthy, and I wouldn't say I'm changing people's lives in any way, shape, or form, but
Oh, you are.
I'll tell you one thing, for the guy that's put in for 20 years for that once in a lifetime hunt, and it all comes down to this 1 second, it's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Pretty cool that we can do what we're doing right now.
Yeah, you're letting hard work actually pay off, instead of be heartbreak, right?
Yeah, it's true. It is true. Mike, do you curious on if you're planning any hunts for this up and coming year? Or
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah, I gotta get myself a couple good tags. I normally get an Idaho elk and deer tag every year, and I didn't do that this year. I had a buddy that was up there, could have got them for me, but I decided, with my wife too, I'm gonna focus a little more keenly on a few really good hunts that I want to just be successful. And I had some good success this year, but I want to do the same thing and maybe not spread myself as thin. That was so fun going to South Dakota. I'd love to do that again, but random hunts here and there and trying to fit stuff in, you end up kind of cutting yourself short by the time you figure things out, and you got to go somewhere else or you got to get back for work or whatever. It just ends up messing with you. So I think less is more. I'm going to get more bang for my buck this year, and maybe pick half a dozen to really focus on instead of 10 or 12. So,
we have this one buck down south he would look really, really good on your wall, buddy. He would look good.
yeah, we got to try and figure out how to get me that tag, huh? I'd,
That tag's a
I'd
small
share the
fortune
elk or
now.
the deer woods with you anytime, or the Antelope plains, or yeah, we got a heck of a good. That was one of the funnest hunts I've ever been on, and even though we didn't get to hang a tag on either of those two giant bucks, it was sure fun working our way up to get into the opportunities.
Oh, it was a ball, man. That hunt was so fun. We were we were we were out there in this little hotel that we got out in the middle of nowhere, and like I'm checking
The
the
night that it wasn't
mattresses.
sold out.
Yeah, get there and it wasn't so. It's like how can a little hotel out in the middle of Podunkville, South Dakota, be sold out? Well, apparently there was what? It was the bird hunt.
Bird hunting.
So
Yeah.
everyone was out there bird hunting, but yeah, we got that hotel. I'll never forget that little place, man. I think Mike, you said it. I still remember what you said right when you walked in. What was it? It was Granny, something about grandma's sheets or back. I feel like I'm back in the 70s.
yeah, the upholstery on the couches and the bedroom,
Yeah,
and pretty
they were
nasty.
the old
Yeah.
flower patterns that were the
Oh
shiny.
yeah.
It's
Yep.
like, oh man, where are we right now, Mike? We're back in the 70s. But
You could have hurled
good
on any
times.
of the furniture or the bedspread or anywhere, and you wouldn't have even known it. It would have
No.
just looked the same.
Yeah, that's what hunts are all about, my friend. And I was watching I seen Canyon. You sent me the bear with Canyon. I'll bet that was a rush
Yeah, it
having
was
those.
fun.
Yeah.
What distance were you to that bear that you got?
12 feet or something?
17 yards.
17 yards? Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, close.
7'4" giant color phase bear up in Canada. So
Canyon
I am
wasn't
doing that
that.
hunt again this year. So I already have that booked, and so
Do
I'm pretty
you?
excited to get
Is
back up
Canyon
there.
going with you?
Probably not this time, but yeah, just get back up there. Canyon doesn't like being away from work and grinding too much. So
Got to get that lab coat off of him from time to time, right?
pocket protector.
Yep.
Was your heart beating 1,000,000 miles an hour?
Oh yeah, I was freaking out like before. Like I had to wait because we had a couple open shots, but I was just shaking in the beginning, and then yeah, then I calmed down and made the shot.
Yeah, the guide, it was interesting because I haven't been on a whole lot of guided hunts. I'm a DIY guy pretty much, but in this particular case, we're up there with an outfitter on a bait stand, and he told me after, and which I thanked him for it. I was going crazy. I was actually getting kind of pissed, like, shoot him! What are we doing? Why are we waiting? And the outfitter told me after. He says I could see Canyon's nerves were, built up enough that I wanted to let him calm down. And so he did. And I mean, it was like, I think it was 13 minutes that bear was coming in and out on that bait before Canyon finally put a shot
I
on
don't
him.
know if my nerves could ever calm down being 17 yards from a big old bear like that.
Well, it's funny because I was totally calm until about 10 or 11 minutes. And then when it got time for Canyon to get ready to shoot him, all of a sudden I was getting the shakes. I'd been fine the whole time, but I just, and I'm trying to video him with his phone on the shot and then the bear with my phone on the other. And I did get great footage of both. So that was lucky and fortunate.
I've seen that footage. Isn't that what it's all about right there? Like there's no explaining it to anyone. You have to experience things like that. You cannot explain it. There's not a way possible you can ever explain hunting to someone,
You got to experience it for yourself.
To see you in Canyon, he showed me that footage, and by the way, man, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, first bow kill. So yeah, we're gonna mount that one and put it up at our cabin. And then I got a really nice bear here in Utah that was not as big as Canyon's, but a really good bear for Utah. Pretty sweet color phase, also chocolate. And we're gonna mount both of them, kind of coming up over a log and look at each other, sizing each other up or something. Put them up in the cabin.
Who was that group of people you're with up there?
Yeah, that was John and Jen Rivet's outfit up there. It's called Living the Dream Outfitters. They're real well known up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And they come to all the Total Archery Challenges, and they're always at the Hunt Expo. And yeah, I've known them for probably 10 years now, since the first time I met them, and I've always wanted to get up there and hunt, and thought it was a great chance for me and Canyon to go enjoy a hunt together up there last year. And
seems like
I had so much fun. I got to do it again. So
yeah, they seem like quite the outfitter up there.
Yeah, they're great people. I mean, Joe Rogan's been with them, and Cam Haines goes every
year.
He
has?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep. And my good friends, the Endicotts that own the bow rack up in Oregon, they Lisa, and she usually takes one of her daughters or other family, and they go every year. It's a great time. So they do a great job.
Well, I may have to jump in your luggage when you go up and go watch it.
We got room right now. So
yeah.
We haven't locked in a date yet. We got to kind of put something on the calendar. Actually, another good friend of mine I've kind of known through social media, that Muley Slayer is his handle on Instagram, Mark Smith. And he's killed a lot of big deer, and pretty well known guy in the community. He's going to come up in the same hunting camp as me, so we're going to spend some time together. We're looking
Oh,
forward to
good.
that as well. So
Good. It's pretty crazy through social media how you got your own little group of guys, huh? Like it's weird. But I love my guys. Love all my guys that I'm tight with. I've become
it's all about the
really.
community, isn't it? Brotherhood.
It's
Yeah.
people say, oh, it's not real. It's blah blah blah. Whatever. I've become great friends with a lot of these guys I've done rifles from, Ari, and a lot of these guys that just they're my social media posse, and I like them. I don't know, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that again, back to really, when you and I were talking before, Larry, and I kept saying, you need to come on the podcast. He said, oh, I've never been on one. What is it like? So we just get on and chat like we're doing now, and which is what we're doing. But I've watched you from afar and from near, and even in my close circle of friends over the years, and you just you've figured out how to live at a very high level of, I would say, fulfillment and joy, and always doing good things, always helping other people. I mean, I appreciate you're often reaching out to me, just checking in, seeing how things are going. We've had a lot of conversations about that too. And what is it about that you learned? I mean, I think that'd be good for our listeners to hear. You talked to me about that when you just learned a while back, when you're thinking about somebody to, reach out to them, check in, see what's going on. What can you share with people about that practice that you've tried to be more intentional about?
Oh, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I would probably dare to say that it goes back to. Yeah, it's kind of a pretty crazy story. I had a good friend of mine that was that I've known since we were little. They had always come up from California. His name was Dan. Dan and Scott Dolinar. They come up from California and stay with family here. And I knew him ever since we were just literally knee high. We were probably 6 or 8, and he was working at my shop at the time. He moved up here. Long story short, fast forward to years back, and he ended up committing suicide. And and it made me really just open my eyes to appreciating people more. I'm with him one day, and the next day he's gone. And so it just makes you think, it makes you, I, I try whenever someone pops into my head, whenever I have a friend or anyone, like sometimes I'll just think of someone I haven't thought of for haven't thought about for 6 months, and their name will pop in my head, and I'll just go call them, and because you just don't know, I mean, in the spiritual aspect of things, why did that name pop into your head? Is it maybe they need a phone call? Maybe it's time that maybe they're going through some hard times. I think back to Dan, and he was trying to give me stuff, and he's trying to give me some camcorders and some different things, and I always look at the signs that were there afterwards. You can always see those signs, and I just wouldn't say that I feel to blame at all. I just feel that I wish there was something I could have done. I wish maybe his name would have popped in my head, and I would have called him, and maybe could have talked him out of something that he was thinking. But yeah, so I don't know. I think I think at times, you get inspired by things that pop in your mind, and I think there's a reason for it. You think of one of your old friends, and instead of just thinking about him, grab your phone, call him, send him a message, do something. I feel pretty strong about that. I've lost a couple pretty good friends of mine over, past, you know, 15 years. I always wish I could go back and just say hi to him again or talk to him, So I don't know. I think it's important. I think if you think of someone, you have a thought, it's for a reason. I think the reason certain people, just call them and talk to them. You never know. Sometimes they don't answer, sometimes they do, but you never know, who's in need at the time, you know.
Well, sometimes when you reach out, just the act of you reaching out and them knowing that you thought of them, or if you
Absolutely.
leave them a nice, a kind message or a thoughtful text, and you've been a good example to me of that too. And I've, like you, I've had some busy times in my life where I was working a lot. And I remember my mom, and she died in 2011 of Lou Gehrig's disease at 67. But I remember, she was always so mindful and thoughtful, and she'd call me all the time. And I was so dang busy. I had young kids, and I just was busy all the time. And lots of times it really wasn't a good time to pick up the phone and have a conversation with my mom in the middle of my work day, or I'm at a trade show, or I'm doing a demo or something on a software, meeting. And, but once she was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, all of a sudden, I never missed a call from her, and I was making a lot of calls. And so just like what you're saying, man, there may be a day where you can't make that call or you can't take that call. And so I think it's a great way to live and to spread joy and goodwill is, take a few minutes here and there when you're thinking of somebody. And,
Yeah,
what
100.
does it hurt? What's the cost really in the grand scheme? We can waste 10 minutes looking at memes and reels without even blinking and thinking about it, so an investment in other people's lives, or, spending that little extra effort to think of somebody might be, like you say, just the difference for them, which is, what a blessing to affect people for good.
Yeah. Yep. Well said. I agree with you on that one for sure. I do it all the time. I'll just randomly call people all the time. And
Yeah.
I get calls from people randomly from time to time too. And it's like, it's, yeah, it's kind of what life's all about at the end of the day, it
Yeah.
really
You
is.
came on a South Dakota antelope hunt with me from a random call that was just, if you hadn't have called me
Absolutely.
when you did, I'd already been there.
Yeah,
And man, what a great
absolutely.
time we had. And I feel so blessed that you invested your time and, took the time to help me out and also spend a few days with me out, chasing critters. It was fun.
It was a ball, man. I had watching you sneak up on those antelope was the best, crawling through it was the best, man. And I had no
Yeah.
pressure, I didn't have $100,000 tag riding on it, so
Mm,
I
yeah.
don't know. It was fun. We'll have to do it again
Yeah.
for dang sure.
Yeah. I'd love that, or get on a bear hunt or something. Yeah. We definitely need to connect up. And,
Yeah.
after you take me in on one of these giant 240 inch bucks, jeez.
Tell you, I'll tell you one thing,
Insane.
I definitely have one with your name on it. So
Oh man, that'd be great. Well, Larry, this has been so much fun, and we've run a little longer than normal, but I think it's been a great conversation. So much fun. I guess you talked about G7 already.
yep.
We'll link that up in the show notes and let people
Okay.
find you there. I mean, you talk about the communities when you help somebody, you end up helping their whole circle. I mean, you've helped my brother Milo, Chris Kyler, his buddy. I mean, there's a dozen more rifles coming your way that you don't even know about because of the the good work that you've done to help me and Milo dial in, and it's been a lot of fun. So, excited about your future and your growth with this. But, if there was one thing that you'd really sum up of, the special sauce or what you've learned in life that help you get back to those primal things within you that make you tick and make you who you are, what would you share with the audience about that and maybe what they could do to tap into something similar?
If there was one thing, I'd say probably everyone out there that's a little bit younger, um, freaking enjoy, do what you enjoy. Turn it into a job. Turn in.
Mm.
It really, it sounds like it's impossible to do, but if you enjoy tennis, maybe go teach tennis lessons. If you enjoy playing guitar, maybe teach guitar or build guitars or whatever, whatever. Everyone has different things, but life is way, way, way too short. It's getting shorter for you and I, Mike. We're definitely, we get to the age that we're at right now, and you start realizing that it's not about your possessions whatsoever. It's about your experiences, our Antelope hunt. It's about stuff like that more than anything that you'll ever own. But that's my advice is don't frickin' sit there and think about doing something. Just do it. Get it. Even if you have to you just get a little side hustle going on something you enjoy. An example, you like to play tennis. Maybe you could still stick with your job and start teaching lessons. I don't know, build a tennis racket. I don't know anything about tennis, but you know, with my rifles, I just started doing it for a few friends and it turned into I'm doing this for a living and I truly love it. I really, really do. I really love it, and to be able to do it um and make some money off of it's quite the bonus. So that would be my advice is just don't don't sit there idle and think things are gonna happen to you, because they're not. You have to make them happen, and it's a lot easier to do than you really think. You just got to start doing it, start a little business, start a little thing, doing guns, doing whatever you enjoy, and things will work out. So, I mean, is it really a job if you love it? Not really. Yeah, I'll make money, but off of it, but Rick, I really love it. Here I am doing it. So yeah, get off your butts and start doing instead of thinking it's going to happen. You gotta do it. That's my advice.
Beautiful. Love it. Kanyon, what have you learned from Uncle Larry today?
110% on one thing will get you pretty successful. So instead of focusing on a billion different moving parts, I think just hone in on your craft and if it's something you love, you'll do it so good that you can't get enough hands and time to be able to handle all the people wanting to get involved. So
Failure's not an option. You just make it happen. Like failure's not even in part of the conversation. Just make it happen. We got the mad scientist down here that freaking lab coat on. I could see him just adding, all these things and making things just perfect. He's a lot like I am, making things go, and I'm sure he learned it from you, Mike. So
Oh, maybe some of it, but yeah. We're all about the new and improved version. That's what we want our boys to be, is better than we ever were, right? If we can help
yep,
it. So
true, true.
well, thanks again, Larry, for joining us. So much fun. We'll have to do it again down the road and have a recap after we go and knock down a big buck or go shoot some bears or something, and talk about our next adventures. But really appreciate you and your example and your friendship and the good work that you're doing for people in this community that we love and are so passionate about, the hunters and outdoorsmen and people that are out there getting after it. And it's just great to rub shoulders with guys like you. So thanks.
Thank you,
You
Larry.
too. Thank you.
All right, we'll catch you on the flip side. Get primal.